have the finals, and then you have the grand finals. So this is technically sort of like the quarterfinals, but apparently we're also calling it the semifinals. So basically what happens is today there were 2 sets of matches. There was Team against Magical Ponies, and then they started in the Plebs against Assimilate. The winner of that, the winner of those 2 finals then plays each other and goes to face Dragon Herb in the finals for all the marbles, as they say. So yeah, this is, I guess, technically could be thought of as the quarterfinals. So let's commence with game 1 of the quarterfinals between Stardom and the Plebs and Team Assimilate. So spawning in the top right-hand corner as the Orange Protoss, we have Fat Reaver, and in the bottom left-hand corner as the Teal Terran, we have Tearing Us Apart. And I guess right off the bat, it needs to be noted that when it comes to this game, there is a walkover, as far as I understand. Fat Reaver's opponent did not show up. So Tearing Us Apart, I forget who, is one of the coaches, and he is playing Fat Reaver just for fun as a challenge, but Fat Reaver will be getting the walkover win for his team. Okay, so this is apparently Lumix against Fat Reaver. So I guess that means... I forget who's on which team. I forget. I guess I can look that up, though. While we wait and see what the game plan is, it looks like Fat Reaver is going to get a pylon started. Pretty normal. Pretty typical thing to do when you're playing. So, let's see who's on which team, just for confirmation. Alright, it looks like Fat Reaver is on Assimilate. Evil Eye, it's just a case of, basically, they didn't want walkovers, especially in the finals, so if a player couldn't make it, the other player would get a walkover win, but they would play their game against the coach of the other team. And yeah, Lumix does seem to be one of the biggest noob bashers around. He like, if a good player comes, he'll be like, nah, I don't want to play. But anytime, if you're like C and below and you're like, you want to play, he'll always want to like play. It's like his thing. So, what do we have going on? We got the barracks going up. And we should have a... Actually, are we going to go Rax CC here? We got no gas at 13, so I'm going to assume we're going to see some Rax CC action. Stardom saying he thinks Lumix is only super good at TVZ. Cybercore about halfway. Pretty standard looking opening. And yeah, barracks just about to be done. Still no gas, so I gotta assume we're gonna see an expansion. We got 400 minerals. SCV's a bit late coming out. There we go, so he will get it down, but a little bit slow on that CC. A little bit of harass on the probe. SCV's scouting around. Range, should see a Dragoon here. He does now see the command center. We'll see if he wants to alter his build at all. There's some possibility he would skip even making the Dragoon and just go straight for an expansion, but it does not look like Fat Reaver is going to opt to play that way. And Lumix just hanging around. Probe is harassing the CC, which will more or less do absolutely nothing. And now Marine is out. We'll chase that probe away. We can see the bunkers going up. Oh, he's going to lose the probe. He's not going to be able to keep scouting around. I mean, hard to do with a Marine, but either way, bunkers up. He's only got 1 gate. No proxy tech. Well, perhaps this could be something proxied. But right now, Lumix looking to be pretty safe and no sort of threat. I mean, with a bunker to repair up already, 1 gate, ranged Dragoons are not going to be a problem. However, I did mention that probe going about, and there we go. We have a pylon here on the high ground. So now the question is he going to try to bully Lumix with a few extra gates and mass Dragoons, or are we going to see proxy like Reaver Tech? CC finishing up, and we should see some factories start here shortly. Fact 1. Oh, we're actually getting the Academy quite quickly. It doesn't want to have no scans if there's super fast TT or something. But he does seem a bit late. Maybe he's going to build the 2 factories in sequence. with each other, but Fat Reaver adding a gateway. I hope he's going to add 2 or 3 gateways and go for some super heavy gateway pressure here at the front. What is he building? Oh dear. So Lumix is going to proxy a factory. Notice he still has a lot of gas. 2 Dragoons now showing up to harass the bunker. 2 SCVs quickly pulled to go ahead and repair the bunker. Now we got the depot. Oh, he's getting Marine range to defend his bunker given the proxy factory, so that's not a bad idea. Obviously, if you get Marine range, then the Marines will be able to shoot the Dragoons. And still only sitting on 1 factory. So I'm very curious to see what Lumix's game plan is. You know, normally 1 factory would be sort of like a mine double kind of thing, expanding. However, with this factory here, it's looking like he wants to run vultures into the main. And given the proxy gateways, and the fact that Fat Reaver is going to be putting all of his attention here on busting the front, these vultures certainly would have the potential to be highly damaging. Oh, he's actually going to float in? Oh, but the pylon is for sure going to be able to see that, right? We're going to assume for the moment that Lumix is able to repair his bunker. Man, that's got to see it, right? Well, we'll just wait and see. And see, now he's going to start to get confused. He'll probably then realize, he got Marine. Okay, so he's got to see this. If he's not totally blind and hopelessly micro-focused, he's going to see this there. And it's just a matter now of responding to it. So yeah, Lumix is... I wonder if Lumix can see that he's in pylon range. Yeah, he can. So... Oh, but whoa, look at this! We have a bunch of Dragoons trying to go for the run-by, diving on top of the SCVs, and right now the SCVs are glitching these Dragoons ridiculously good. Like, he is not getting up this ramp at all. He's got 2 up, which is good. Make that 4 up now. So there's potential here for these Dragoons to get a lot of damage done, but these drills are insane. Like, these Dragoons are getting so glitched out by the SCVs, and they're very softened up. And now he's pulled the bunkers, and unfortunately he's gotten cornered, so he's going to take a lot of damage, and that is really a bummer. It looks like these vultures are going to do an absolutely obscene amount of damage, make that more or less critical damage if Lumix micros. Critical damage here, as he's not even producing a Dragoon in this gateway. He's entirely focused on the front, but the bunker's up at the front. These guys are getting picked off. I mean, Lumix is still taking damage here, so both players are kind of unable to quite keep up with the defense with the micro, and we're basically just eating each other's shots, and now it's this weird situation. He's going to try to run up and snipe the bunker. Will Lumix react in time? He's going to need to pull more than 1. He's got 2, but it looks like the damage from the Marines may be a little too much. More Dragoons showing up. Will it be enough? He's trying to pull back the weakened ones, and now he does have a Dragoon back here to defend the factory, and the bunker is about to go down, and down it goes. Lumix is looking very much in trouble at this point. Fat Reaver killing off the Vulture. That is done for, and now cutting back against the Marines. There's no bunker at the front. Remember, he hasn't even built a factory back at home. Going into a Wraith. I mean, Lumix's play, quite frankly, is ridiculous. He's basically trying to troll Fat Reaver, but... he obviously hasn't watched Noni's video that even if you're against a player that you'd normally beat, you can't just expect to troll them mercilessly. You have to you have to get an advantage first before you do that. If you just go for it blind, you end up losing pitifully like this, and Lumix is getting absolutely wrecked at this point, and there it is, GG. So Fat Reaver takes the game. And of course, Fat Reaver was the actual winner of Game 1 anyway, due to the walkover in the set. So that will put Team Assimilate up at a 1-0 lead. All right, so in the middle position as the, I guess you call it 3 o'clock position, as the purple Protoss, we have phasers, and in the bottom position here at 6 o'clock, as the white Protoss, we have Hardtail, otherwise known as Hafnium. And for those of you that don't know, this is again another match between coach and regular player, because Hardtail's opponent also did not show up. So this will be a second walkover to start the series in favor of Team Assimilate. So not the best start for Stardom and the Plebs. So again, this game is purely for show. And of course, Phasers is a pretty strong player. I believe Phasers is either C plus or B minus. So Phasers is also a strong Protoss. But let's not forget, Hafnium is one of the stronger Protosses in the league. Evil Eye had a better record, and I'm not sure if I would put any other Protoss in the league above Hafnium. I might be forgetting one. Apologies if I'm leaving somebody out, but he would definitely have to be, right there in that discussion for the second or third best Protoss. Both players, of course, grabbing their gateway and heading out to scout. So both players are going to opt for the relatively early gateway scout in this case. And we can see Phasers is badly winning the APM spam war. Hardtail is not even trying at only 260 APM. He's barely spamming at this point. We're going to have a 2-gate here from Phasers. And it looks like Hafnium is going to be going for his 1-gate tech. Of course, reasonably short rush distance is a 3-player map. That explains the early scout from Phasers. It makes a lot more sense now in that context. Still a little early for my liking from Hardtail. I don't usually think there's a huge benefit to scouting super fast. It's just what happens. So it'll just be a question now of Micro at the ramp. He is going to make Zealot before core, possibly 2 Zealots before core, which will make it reasonably easy for him to defend these initial Zealots and help hold his ramp a bit longer to wait for that Dragoon to come out. Looks like he's going to go 2 slots before core, or, well, he just got enough money. Let's see what he does. Okay, he is going to go 2 slots. Whoa, okay, so he scouts the 2-gate, and he's going to respond by 2-gating himself. I will be honest, this is not like some proxy gate. I'm not thrilled with this response. I hope he's going to at least take guys off gas. He's taken 1 off. He should really take more off, but I'm not a big fan of going for 2 gates before core. Like, 2-gate is not that hard to hold. So no particular reason in my opinion to respond. Obviously it's super safe. He will defend this 2-gate just fine, but I would really like to see him getting his tech and doing something. See, there's still no gas from Phasers, so Phasers is probably going to play what is by far the most popular way to play this at these ranks, which is to go ahead and do 5 slots and then just go for an expansion. Now at pro level, just like with 2-gate versus Zerg, at amateur level, you'll see a lot of times, just 2 gateways, make 5 Zealots, expand against Zerg, same against Protoss. Oh, this is a bit of a mistake from Hafnium. I don't quite know what the Zealots are trying to do down there. If it was a bad rally point, a misclick, whatever. But he's going to let Phasers have a nice scout off. Going to see the timing of that core. And alright, so we are going to see what essentially amounts to a 2-gate tech against a 2-gate expansion. I'm still working here off the assumption that Phasers is going to expand, because if he's not, he's got some ridiculously late gas. Alright, here come the Zealots across from Phasers, and Hafnium needs to organize his stuff, or he's going to be taking a horrible initial angle, but all of a sudden it looks okay for Hafnium, especially if he can walk this Zealot around a bit. He's getting a nice arc there. This guy's having some trouble. Right now the trading is pretty even, though, both trading off a slot for each other, but he has snuck one in, which does manage to get a probe kill, although it is about to go down, and forces a little lost mining time. But now we've got Dragoons on the way, and is there a forge here? There's one started, but it is pretty slow. So this will be a little bit tense for Phasers, and he is definitely going to need to micro well and buy some time to get those cannons up, or he's going to be in big time danger from the Dragoons of Hafnium, who has finally killed off that scouting probe that he let sneak in. And we'll see what Phasers can get done here with his control. That forge should be about almost done, so the cannons are about to go up, but there's this little window here, although I don't think Hafnium has all of his units across. He's a little slow with the Dragoons. Man, if he had the Dragoons right now, this could be so dicey. I do like this little play. He's going to try to slip his lot in. Oh, but very good by Phasers. He's able to get it, his own Zealot, into the perfect position on the ramp. And yeah, if he would have had the goons there, he could have kind of attacked with his Zealots and ran around with the goons and started sniping these cannons and started to make the situation scary. But unfortunately, the Dragoons weren't quite there with the Zealot, so now Phasers is going to get his expansion up very comfortably. But at the same time, if we look here, we can see while the expansion timing is a bit better for Phasers, Note that Phasers was forced to get a forge and 3 cannons before he expanded, whereas Hafnium has just happily expanded away. So even though the expansion is going to be a little bit faster for Phasers, Hardtail is not that far behind economically. He hasn't invested 600 minerals in defense, and he's got a much faster tech than Phasers. So this is not at all a bad position for Hardtail. You can see only just now is Phasers' core about to finish here. Obviously, at this point, you know, he's got a bunch of Dragoons. I think he's got range out. So, yeah, it's going to be a long time before Phasers has any relevant tech on the map. He's sending out a probe up here. We'll see if that's for building something hidden or just scouting. My guess would be just scouting, but you never know. Coming in to look. Probe probably got close enough to see the Nexus, so he probably has some idea what's going on. It looks like, yeah, he's being forced to add even more cannons because without those Dragoons, you can get in a Hydra bus situation where the Dragoons can almost ignore the Zealots, just come in, pick off a cannon, back up, and whittle you down. And then if you get down to where it's only Zealots against Dragoons, we obviously know how that fight tends to go. Especially with ranged Dragoons. More interestingly, has Phasers picked a tech path yet? Not quite. He's going to add a 3rd gateway. I think right now he's just focused on getting some Dragoons out. Let's keep in mind, it looks like he's getting a shuttle. So I think we're going to see Reavers. Actually, no, we're going to see Storm Drops, perhaps, as he is going straight for that Templar Archives. So he's going to skip Reaver Tech altogether and go straight for Templar Tech. And we're going to see a few drops. And okay, so it looks like he has built some spotter pylons over here, which are really nice. It'd be a common way to send the shuttle up around. So by having those pylons, they'll give him almost complete vision to try to spot a shuttle sneaking around the map. Possibly could just slip past here, but man, would that be right up tight against the edge of the map. And now the question is he well enough positioned to block this probe from getting in? Oh, he's not. So he's actually, oh, if he would have been paying attention, for sure could have gotten a probe into the main and seen everything. As while Hafnium's hardtail position is nice and out there looking for probes, it was somehow not able to catch the probe slipping down. And it looks like Phasers has now amassed enough of an army that he's going to go ahead and come across the map and pressure Hardtail. One thing that is a little bit troubling for Hardtail, oh, we're actually going to have DTs, which is often a really good decision because the obs are very late. Notice there's only 1 cannon. Now, the question is DT numbers. Okay, that is enough to be dangerous with those 2 slots. You know, if it's 4 DTs, sometimes even 2 cannons isn't enough. If you're slow to react and those DTs get up on top of the cannons, they will kill the cannons so fast. And of course, if you lose your main nexus, you can pretty much kiss your chances of winning goodbye. We can see Phasers is going to go up to that 6 gateway number. Hafnium is still working off of just 4 gateways. Remember, he is about 8-9 probes behind Phasers here, and now coming around with the shuttle, and we'll just have to see. That obs is going to be pretty soon on the way, though, so even if this cannon were to get sniped, he really shouldn't lose the nexus. And now it's just a question of how good will the reactions be. He's moving his Dragoons around, so I think he's seen something. Yeah, he's definitely headed back to the main now. The cannon will go down extremely fast, and now the question is, what is the game plan? Oh, he's going for the observatory. Oh, he should have the Zealots attack this if he wants to go for it. It's going to be close, but it looks like the DTs are going to kill the robotics facility, and that is going to be completely devastating here for Phasers. I can't even begin to tell you how bad the situation is. The goons are going to get wailed on. I think he can find his way in over the cannons. I'd like that he's positioning the goons as good as possible, but it's going to be almost impossible to block these cannons with just Dragoons, and they are now getting denied, and Phasers is having a world of problems. He's building the robotics facility back over here, although a DT can actually be slipped behind here, I think. But let's face it, it is not looking good right now for Phasers' main nexus, and this is a massive hit right now. To be losing all this economy, to lose this nexus, this is extremely hard to recover from. Fortunately, he has saved his probes, but there's absolutely zero possibility to save the nexus. And at the time, Hafnium feeling so confident, he's going to come over here and put down an expansion of his own. There we go. The main nexus is down. Will he go for the pylons? He probably doesn't have enough time, but if he killed the pylons powering the gateways as well, it would be even more frustrating. Or going straight for the observatory is another option, but it looks like he's just going to pick off some structures. Now he's splitting up his DTs, perhaps not the best use, but we are still a little ways away from obs. Of course, this pylon getting killed off is going to alert Phasers to the very high probability of an expansion, but keep in mind Hafnium also getting those Templar out right now. So he has this wonderful tech, whereas Phasers doesn't have anything. And just going to work. He's working on his second armor. Is he going to be able to get it, though? It is going to be very close. But I don't know. It looks like he's got an outside chance. The core looks like it's done for. The forge is going to be 50-50 depending on how quickly this DT gets over here and helps with the forge. Oh, it's not helping with the forge. I think you can save the forge. It's going to be really tight, though. It's going to be really tight. I think if this DT had gone to help the forge, I think he would have sniped it. But he is just ever so slightly going to save it. But look at that. I mean, the Nexus is down. He's lost all the mining time of that Nexus for 45 seconds or more. Probably actually like close to a minute and a half. And now he has to rebuild that Nexus. And of course, if we look at the supplies, we can see that has given Hardtail a 20 supply lead. And with that, having only one Nexus to even think about probes from, we can see that Hafnium has caught up nicely in the probe count and is now expanding to his third with full tech. And of course, he's got observation. So let's just face it. It is not a good situation right now at all for Phasers. He is going to need some really great harassment, or he is going to need a very, very bad engagement from Hardtail. Of course, the one thing that's going good for him is he has also taken his own third, and he's actually started mining from it just a little bit faster than Hafnium has. So that economic edge, keeping up with that, will mean that he has not fallen what would feel almost critically far behind. You know, he is still going to be on these 3 bases here shortly, and of course their probe counts are similar. So once he stabilizes, the situation is going to be a lot better for Phasers. Still a rough situation. Oh, but wait a second. He gets 7 kills with this High Templar going for those drops, and that is not going to help. We can see that has reduced Phasers' count down to 35 or so. And does this High Templar still have a storm? No, it does not, but he definitely needs to come back here and pick it off. If he forgets about it, he'll be allowed to hang out back out here and get another storm round off when the probes transfer. Finally, he's able to get some Dragoons over there. It looks like this High Templar is going to go down, but Phasers being forced to just more or less turtle at home here as Hafnium just kind of takes the whole map. He's defending this base with some Protoss units over here, has a few Templar in the mix, so if he tries to run up the ramp, he can just storm the ramped units like crazy. Getting out even more Templar. The one not so good thing for Hafnium is the 000 upgrades versus the 1-0 working on 1-1 here from Phasers. And let's see how quickly he gets that third upgrade going. I expect we'll see it here fairly soon, but he's going to have a very nice upgrade advantage in the fight with Hardtail. That'll be kind of his one advantage if a fight happens soon. I think the biggest concern for Phasers is if Hardtail brings the fight to him here sometime in the next couple minutes before he has Templar out, because under that situation he's going to really have to be careful with his army, because Hardtail's army is going to win in a straight up fight. So if Phasers doesn't position perfectly, fight near his cannons, manage to do something about those storms, it's going to be really rough for him. He does have some Templar coming out. Does he have storm researched yet? No, well, maybe. Looks like the obs is either he's sensing this. I don't know if his obs is quite in vision, but he's sensing it and is definitely getting his army into a good position. And this is a very good arc here from Phasers, so this is a good start from Phasers, but he's going to have to be very careful with this engagement. We'll see if we can hit some good storms. It looks like he only got 2 Templar in the bunch, but these Archons are being worth their weight in gold, and good storms going off on the Dragoons. In fact, incredible storms going off on the Dragoons. Phasers getting the engagement that he absolutely could not afford, and now Hafnium is firmly in control of this game. He thinks about going up there, does not. It looks like he's going to opt to charge straight to the natural. We're still a ways away from having a storm here, and now we can see Phasers are going to have to come back down here and try to defend this base. But look at this. I mean, so many of these Dragoons softened up heavily from the storms. There are Templar on the backfield here. They can drop storms on these Dragoons, diverting a little bit of his army. Another good storm goes off. Look at those 2 storms continuing to soften up the Dragoons. And while there will be probably a storm at the front, that's not a whole lot. Let's see, not able to get a storm off with that Templar. And now Hafnium probably just needs to recollect his army, and he can just bust through the main of Phasers. A little bit sloppy there with the Dragoons, but there it is. And Phasers can only say GG as Hafnium takes a win here over the coaches. So both coaches getting taken down by pupils in the league. Rough day for coaches. And of course, the walkover win for Hafnium will put him up in the series. We'll put Team Assimilate up in the series 2-0. with that, we will be headed towards game number 3. Spawning in the top left-hand position as the Brown Terran, we have Stardom. And spawning in the bottom right-hand corner spawning in the top left-hand corner is the Orange Terran, we have Stardom. And in the bottom right-hand corner, spawning as the Brown Terran, we have Diarrhea Terran, who's commenting that he got his lucky color. And I guess it's hard to dispute him on that. So TVT here. We have Diarrhea Terran, who's actually one of the more hardworking Terrans in the league, playing against Stardom, another one of the league's low APM famous players. Has around 110, 120 APM, but manages to be one of the stronger Terrans in the league. And Diarrhea Terran, a little bit more mechanically sound, and I think he's one of the more improved Terrans, honestly, over the course of the league. He's one of those guys that I remember watching him in the beginning. I thought he looked pretty sloppy, kind of like low D plus-ish, but as the league has continued to go on, he's definitely looked a lot more solid. Macros tightened up, builds have gotten a little bit better. Just clearly one of the more improved players. If we were giving out awards for that, he would be someone in my mind that would be in the running for such an award. And obviously, grabbing depots for both players, having a little discussion about Diarrhea Terran's nickname, about Diarrhea Terran's diarrhea, or something like that. I don't know the specifics. Someone doesn't know how to spell balloon. I need a water balloon. And what do we have? A barracks. And a barracks. No 14cc. I don't think anybody has done a 14cc in this league. It's like since those, I don't know, Brood War days before SC2, when Flash was all 14cc hype. I feel like it's been that long since we've seen 14cc as a regular build to see. SCV heading out for Stardom. Let's see where is he headed. Is he going to go through the middle and scout for proxy stuff? Oh, he is. So it's actually going to turn out to be a beautiful scout. Not only is he going to confirm the lack of anything proxied, he's going to go straight to Diarrhea Terran's base. Second depot gases are up for both players, so we're looking at a pretty standing opening. We can see that Diarrhea Terran actually taking 2 SCVs off gas here. So I think we're going to see kind of a Vulture expand given that. Stardom, same thing, so it looks like we're going to see very, very similar openings from both players. Diarrhea Terran has a Marine on the ramp. Not sure if it's in perfect blocking position. That second one will need to get out here quickly if he wants to perfectly block the ramp, or maybe it is in good blocking position. And Stardom will only be able to spin around in circles at the base of the ramp. He will get more or less 0 intel. Of course, the same ought to hold true for Diarrhea. Oh, it's going to be close. And Stardom's Marine is definitely not positioned right. So let's see if Diarrhea Terran just tries to walk up in here. Here he goes. He just waltzes in. So Stardom's ramp hold not quite as good as Diarrhea Terran's ramp hold. And Diarrhea Terran will get that brief scout off on Stardom's base. Going to see that everything looks pretty damn normal. Stardom is actually going to leave 1 Marine on the ramp just in case. And it looks like Diarrhea Terran doesn't care about his SCV at all as it goes and hides in the corner to die. Command Center goes up for Diarrhea Terran and Stardom. Just making vultures here off that 1 factory. Let's see. Okay, there we go. I was going to say. Is also going to get his Command Center going, so both players more or less the same opening. See, CC timing's pretty close. I'd say about 10 seconds faster perhaps for Diarrhea Terran, and Vulture on the way for Stardom. Of course, with the Marines and the Vulture here, it's not like Diarrhea Terran will have any trouble holding this. Unless he goes completely AFK or something like that, he will be just fine. And it looks like he's going to get his mines out. Alright, so here comes the first little SCV poking in here for Stardom. Just wants to see what Diarrhea Terran has before he actually runs in and considers running in with his own Vulture. And given what he's seen, he will not attempt anything with that Vulture. And the barracks floating across for Diarrhea Terran, and now for Stardom's second factory for both players. They're just complete copycats of each other right now. What is Stardom researching in his factory? Mines, yeah. So let's see, is he making a tank? No. So the first difference here we have is Stardom's going to go ahead and make a tank, whereas Diarrhea Terran is going to continue his vulture production. CC finishing up for Stardom, and an armory immediately on the way. Possibly some Goliaths in the mix, or worried about the potential of Wraiths, and Diarrhea Terran feeling a little bit nervous. He's going to get a bunker at the front. I don't think he really needs that, but it's going to make him extra safe against anything other than tanks. And it looks like Stardom has a few units moving out across the map. Maybe or maybe not. I don't know. I don't know what that was all about. It's like he was like, I think I'm going to move out. On second thought, nah, I'll wait. So vultures are done. Probably has mines, no speed, but he's going to be forced to pull back pretty fast. Looks like Stardom's vultures are getting off some good shots. Is he going to take out 2 of DNH's, or 2 of Diarrhea Terrans? It looks like not quite. But definitely ahead here in the vulture count for sure. And Diarrhea Terran is going to go all the way back home and just hang out in his base, or is he going to slip those vultures around somewhere else? Looks like he is thinking to go ahead and slip out. Oh. Tank here, though. That's good tank positioning. Should scare those vultures off. I don't think Stardom would try to run in. Probably not even with speed. And he adds a supply depot at the same time to really restrict the movement of those vultures. But Stardom does get some nice mines laid at the front, which will make it a little bit trickier for Diarrhea Terran to get out of his base with non-vulture units, non-vulture, non-SCV units. And it looks like he has found a vulture of Diarrhea Terrans, and siege almost done. Now, is siege done for Diarrhea Terran, or is he still need to research it? I hope it's already done, otherwise he's going to have an extremely slow siege mode. He's moving forward a bit with these tanks. This is a bit brave. He has heard and seen the vultures lay mines. They were definitely in range of that bunker when he did so. And Stardom just wandering the map with those vultures, still slow vultures. No speed upgrade for them yet, and it looks like, does he have siege mode? We're still waiting to see. Tanks precariously positioned. They kill mines pretty well in decent numbers, but definitely if you walk into too many of them or just get the wrong angle, mines can be a problem. And of course, a mine or two going off on your army of siege tanks early on is extremely brutal. CC on the way for Stardom. And getting a starport as well, starting to think about the drop possibility. It's very loved in TVT, because not only does drop offer an opportunity for a little bit of harassment, it's actually one of the best ways to break siege tank lines in the matchup. You can't really walk up in there with your own tanks because it takes them a long time to siege. So you can get drop ships, drop all your tanks on top of their siege tanks, and kill their army off relatively easily. Looks like he's going to go ahead and spend a scan here, get rid of some of these initial mines, and that will force the vultures from Stardom back. Certainly doesn't want to donate them freely to the tanks. And we can see when it comes to SCV production, Diarrhea Terran definitely getting the better of Stardom. Stardom has made some definite SCV cuts to get that faster third base, whereas Diarrhea Terran has kept up a pretty consistent production. Adding a 4th factory, probably? No. Well, Diarrhea Terran definitely needs to do something, because right now he is starting to bank a lot of minerals, and off of 3 bases with this kind of economy, this number of SCVs, 3 factories is not going to hold those minerals down at all. So we might have an SCV headed over. It's always hard to see brown on the map. Yes, there is an SCV here. It's going to be blocked by this mine, though. And is Diarrhea Terran thinking of coming out on the map? Looking like it's Stardom floating his command center a little bit too far. And yes, indeed, Diarrhea Terran is going to set up a position. One thing I will say, I am not thrilled with this position because it is sort of a reverse concave. If you look at this, that's a little better. This could still be back here, but basically reverse concave has units farthest out and makes it really natural for the opponent to put a concave in you. And oh, he did not expect there to be a whole lot of tanks from Stardom here, and Stardom picks off 2 or 3 tanks for free. And Stardom is in I'm going to march down here mode, but does he know there are 4 or 5 tanks sieged up? So this is going to spark a siege from Stardom and a few tank volleys going down, but it looks like they're mostly going on the vultures. The front tank is picked off, and a few Goliaths are out now, are going to chase the barracks away here from Stardom, reduce that vision a little bit, but let's face it, Stardom now has an early positional advantage on the map. Now, fortunately for Diarrhea Terran, it's not like he made a huge mistake. He's not caught behind his bridges or anything like that. But he's definitely more exposed, and Stardom definitely controls far more of the map. And with tanks coming around this side, there's some unique possibilities for Stardom. Number one is that Diarrhea Terran, with just 3 tanks left, can definitely get flanked, and that will give Stardom bridge control, and it looks like that's exactly what Stardom's going for. And if this move works at all, it's going to be a very good move for Stardom. Here come the tanks moving in right now. Unfortunately, the tanks from the top are not coming to help, but nevertheless, Stardom is able to go ahead and clear that out. Now, he needs to be a little careful of this mine. He's going to go ahead and siege up. That will force the Goliaths back. This tank is about to be dead, and there we go. And now there are just 2 Goliaths and 1 tank at the front. So now the position for Diarrhea Terran has just gotten really bad. He went out on the map a little too soon. Didn't quite have the positioning right for the direction Stardom was coming from. And Stardom with just a few more tanks overall, because let's face it, Stardom is on 5 factories. Diarrhea Terran has just his money going crazy, still on 3 factories, so he's getting outproduced a little bit. Not sure why he's sitting there. I think he's been wanting to make this CC, but he should have made that CC and added factories with the minerals he had, and that lower factory count is definitely causing him some problems. Now Stardom is going to be able to go up here on top of this base, lay a few mines. He's going to continue to delay. Oh man, big mine goes off, killing everybody's stuff, including the STV sent out to expand. So Diarrhea Terran still sitting. Oh, he has added a few more factories down here, as well as a starport. He's doing something to get the money down, but we can see definitely has gas problems. Now with those extra factories, he could start pumping out some vultures to do that. And Stardom is looking to set up the full contain here. He's run 3 tanks over here. Gonna pick this tank off here in a hurry, walking on top of it. And now Stardom can kind of contain all bases, and the position is getting extremely rough for Diarrhea Terran, especially given that Stardom is mining from 3 bases. Now Diarrhea Terran's economy is still probably close to Stardom's, given the almost 20 more SCVs. The production from Stardom is really hurting right now, but it's still 3 bases to 2, and Stardom with an incredibly superior position on the map. And in TVT, that is a huge deal, because positions on the map in TVT are really difficult to break. I mean, a lurker contain, you know, there's some positions like that in other matchups that are solid positions that mean something, but a solid siege tank contain in TVT is one of the most difficult things to break, and it's just incredibly powerful. And basically, Stardom has access to the entire map right now. Diarrhea Terran doesn't even have access to his bridge, his 3rd base. He doesn't really have anywhere he can go. So really rough. He pretty much at this point is getting down to the where the only thing he can do is drop into one of Stardom's bases and go for like a big doom drop kill in the main. He could possibly try to secure his 3rd and get back in that way, but he's going to spend a lot trying to break Stardom's contain at his front, if he can even do it. And just trading evenly like that, well, it won't be evenly because it'll be such a difficult position to break, will put Diarrhea Terran quite far behind. And of course, let's just not forget that Stardom has a much faster 3rd base. Now it looks like somehow Diarrhea Terran was able to come over here and chase Stardom's tank away, so he has secured the high ground for his 3rd base. Has Stardom made any dropships yet? He's had this starport for a while. I don't actually see any. A lot of tanks sitting idle in the natural. Where's an SCV? Oh, he's made the command center his main. He's going to float the command center over. But you can see here, I mean, this is just nothing but pure defense. Just basically saying, oh my god, I can't let this guy come across and kill my bridges. He's going to finally get his 3rd base up, but let's, you know, take a look at those minerals. You know, he's mined, Stardom has probably mined 1,500 minerals here. He's in the 800s at his natural. Yeah, we can see that, you know, Diarrhea Terran economically isn't really that far behind Stardom. As Stardom has mined about 150, 200 minerals from each of these patches, but Diarrhea Terran has mined about 300, 400 more minerals from these patches than Stardom has. So in terms of total resources, the game reasonably even. However, Diarrhea Terran has taken by far the worst engagements, and he's been much slower to put down the factories, and he's flat out floating 4K, whereas Stardom is not floating any money. So Stardom has a much bigger army out on the map, and we can see that in the supplies. Now Diarrhea Terran is going to try to break this. He wants to swing around from the side. He'll probably be able to kill off a few of these tanks, but look at the Artem Stardom has coming in, and he's got a dropship loaded up. Now vultures aren't the greatest thing to drop on top of your opponent's units, but they'll certainly do a little bit of work, and now it looks like Stardom is just going to keep coming here, going to come up onto the high ground, and it doesn't look like there's any way right now for Diarrhea Terran to be able to defend his 3rd base, and that is going to put Stardom into an incredibly superior economic position, as now it's 2 base to 2 base, and we can see Stardom has largely caught up in the SCV count. Actually, Diarrhea Terran is coming over to defend, but Stardom has access to the high ground already, laying some great mines to occupy the tank, getting off high ground shots, and it looks like things are not going Diarrhea Terran's way right now at all. The last tank over there is eliminated. He's only got a few at the bridge. He's actually forgetting to run his third away, and is in danger of outright losing the third command center. It's just a shame he's running so much money right now. I mean, he has spent his gas, but oh man, 5k minerals, that could definitely be a lot more vultures, which would help him. He does lose the third CC, and at that point, all he can do is say GG. So Stardom takes a game for his team to bring it up to 2-1. And that will take us into Game 4. On Jade, which looks like is going to be Probua versus Genji. In the top right-hand position as the red Protoss, we have Probua. And in the bottom left-hand position as the brown Zerg, we have Genji. Someone says, how does he get brown all the time? It's because when you're named like that, you just... It's destiny, man. Don't question it. All you can do. Look at that, shake your head and say, shit. It's destiny, man. It's just how it's got to be. These players are almost tied in APM. It looks like Probua is starting to drop, though. He needs to hit that, 0808, just that little bit faster, or else he's going to fall too far behind Genji. Irrecoverably far behind. Alright, we got a probe going out. Looks like it's going to be a pylon up on the high ground. Could still be 2 gate. Could be 1 gate expand. Could be forge expand. I like the positioning. Pretty easy to spot the wall here on Jade though, but everything looks good. He can get a nice row of cannons in there if he puts his forge right there. Got room for a row of cannons, second row of cannons, Nexus. And on the other hand, Genji is sending out a really fast scouting drone. Super fast scout going out on 9, which I personally don't like scouting this fast, especially when I'm making a faster pool. Perhaps he needs to scout that way though to be able to send his lings immediately. And let's note, oh, he did make overpool. So if he's making 2 lings, I'm gonna disagree with the scout. If he's making 6, I'll say okay, I can kind of understand wanting to send your lings right away to the correct base. But other than that, I'm not a huge fan of 9 scout. In ZVZ, I think you can just go ahead and scout with your, when you go to make your 12 hatch, send 2 drones, and one of them builds the hatch and one of them scouts. Because when you've already gone for overpool or 9 pool, your economy's already taken a pretty significant hit. And there we go, the hatch goes down without problem. Probua decides not to bother Genji with that probe of his. Not quite living up to his namesake. We can see he is getting that first cannon up. It is indeed going to be a forge expand, and he does go for 3 lings. Now, the question will be, will Probua respond with a second cannon, and will Genji go for it? The rush distance is pretty long. He's going to switch back into drones after that, which would be expected. Let's see if he can corner the probe. Nope. So now, let's see how the control is. He's actually got a pretty good angle on it. Probua is doing a pretty good job with his probe right now as well. Both players actually putting down some pretty serious APM right now. Genji having some difficulty controlling his lings, but the probe makes a mistake and dies. Unfortunately, Genji's taken so long killing the probe, he doesn't have an opportunity. Remember, 6 lings are definitely a threat to 1 cannon. Had he run right there, Probua would have definitely been forced to pull a few probes off the line, which would have been nice for him, as it would have bought a little bit more, would have helped kind of chip away at that economic advantage Protoss gets when they can make a quick nexus against overpool. But now with that gateway up and the probe in position, these lings shouldn't be able to do anything against 1 cannon. 1 cannon and 2 probes blocking is usually pretty sufficient to deal with 6 lings. Doesn't need to pull that probe back into blocking position, and let's see if he goes for it or not. Runs 1 ling forward to take a look, and then wisely opts not to go for it. Does have his 3 bases all up. Where is the cyber core? Oh, that is a pretty darn late Well, let's see. Maybe it's about right. I don't know. Should see layer starting here soon. As he's paying 200 gas, which isn't ideal. Usually want to get your layer right away with that first 100 gas, and you can get link speed too. He's going to go link speed before layer with delayed gas. That is an interesting choice. We'll see if he makes more lings. If he's not making more lings, again, I would have to say I don't think there's any reason to delay your layer like that. But if he is going to make more lings, then it starts to make quite a bit more sense. Oh. Okay. He's going to go 3-hatch Hydra. Does he know there's a probe in his base? Possibly what he was hoping to do is let the probe see the lair and then kill it and be like, psych! Let's see if he starts making the lair again. That would be kind of cute. Nope. So that might make Probua suspicious if Probua is thinking about this. We can see, obviously, at this point, no reaction. Now, if this probe gets out of here and sees the Hydra Den, that's going to be obviously really nice. I would have loved to have seen him pull a drone or something, but now he's going to see that. And that should prompt a cannon or two, at the very least, at the front here from Probua. Ling's thinking about running in. Zealot not on hold. Well, that's a little bit weird, concerning. He's definitely going to need to add a cannon. But it's going to be 4-hatch Hydra, which is a little bit different to play against. And oh, the Lings with the speed are able to find a run by, so this is a nice move here from Genji, getting a probe, going for a second one, but decent drill from Probua. And gets the probe, but again, another good drill, and is actually handling these Lings very well. And it's not like Genji had terrible micro, it's just, it was good solid trapping. The only thing I'm worried about still is this one cannon. Hydra's speed on the way. He's actually gotten down 5 hatcheries, but this is a very low drone variation of 5 hatches. I think he's thrown down the Hydra Den that quickly to be able to get some Corsairs out, but with just that one cannon, okay, he is adding a few more now, which is definitely important and definitely good, but he's going to have to be wary here of mass Hydra. We'll see how fast he's getting out that Templar attack. It looks like it is coming reasonably fast here. He's got his Citadel. And, alright, so it looks like Genji started to make a few Hydra. The critical thing is going to be whether or not Genji just made a super fast Hydra Den to defend against Corsairs and is going to pop, 3, 4, 5, 6 Hydra, defend the Corsairs with those and drone up, or if he's going to opt to play aggressively at the front. And that is something we flat out don't know yet. You can see he's a little bit supply blocked from those initial Overlord kills. He's got a few Hydra at each base now to defend his Overlords, and now we just got to pay attention to what he's actually going to go for. It looks like he's added a few drones, so he might be opting to drone up just a little more and not play this super aggressively, which is fine. I mean, he has forced out now 4 cannons from Proboa, which is good. Has Proboa looking reasonably safe. Sarah is being deflected by those initial Hydra. He's adding a creep colony here, as well as there, and it looks like he primarily wants to make drones. He's actually almost caught up to Proboa in drone saturation, which is certainly good for him. Collecting those Overlords nicely, and honestly, Genji's just looking really solid right now. Although Proboa was looking good too. Both players looking like they are playing a pretty solid game. Great economy for Genji now. It is actually equal to, or almost equal to, Proboa's. And now I think we're going to see some more Hydra start to come out. It starts that Hydra range and is going to force the Lings back off the front. Should be pretty close to having that Zealot speed. Obviously not a super fast Zealot legs, as normally a timing for Zealot legs would be hitting about 6:45, 7 minutes. We can see, going for that Archives first. This is not a speed lot timing build from Proboa. This is just I'm going to make some Zealots, and then I'm going to get my Templar out, and then I'm going to push with 5 or 6 gates, mid-game sort of pressure, and DT. So we'll see how well Genji's paying attention. If he's not paying attention well, that DT will be able to slip out and pick off all of those Lings quite easily. Corsair on the way home. He's opted to make just one. He's adding a second one, which isn't a bad idea. A lot of times getting 2 or 3 Corsairs against the Hydra build is a pretty nice medium. Now that's a bit sloppy there from Proboa, as he does just lose a Zealot to Genji's Lings, but then Genji almost returns the favor, but does start to pay attention to those Lings. And it looks like Proboa is going to come up over here to the 3rd base and chase those Lings away. And back at home, Genji is macroing up those Hydras, getting his Evo Chamber, getting Carapace upgrade. Has not started Lurker yet. He has probably added Lair. Yes, he has. And he is getting the Spire up, which becomes important for defending those drops later on. DT is still having a hell of a time getting out of the base. I guess he's blocked by cannons or something. Maybe that's DT tight. That's pretty amazing. He's probably wondering about that. He's like, where's my DT? He's not seeing it like when he goes to his wall or goes to his army point. Kind of out of sight, out of mind. 2 Corsairs coming in here to harass. Oh, big mistake though from Probua, or at least modest mistake from Probua to fly those 2 Corsairs over the Hydra. So now he's lost his scouting information. And of course this makes it a little bit juicier for Genji to decide to go Mutalisk now that he's killed off those Corsairs. And we can see Probua is not remaking them, which could be a story if Genji opts for Mutalisks, and he certainly has the gas to do so. But right now, we're just seeing Hydra being made still. And the one concerning thing for Probua is he's still stuck on 36 probes. Genji hasn't droned up much either. He's made mostly army, but as a Protoss, when you're on that low of probes, it's not the greatest situation against a Zerg. Anytime you're equal in drone count to a Zerg, you're playing from a pretty difficult position. And now here come a bunch of Hydras running up, and there are no High Templar. He's had this for a while. This is a pretty dangerous situation for Probua. If he gets some good snipes on these Templar, that will be really bad. Oh, but he doesn't get the snipe. Well, he kind of gets the snipe, but he also eats some major storms, and now definitely there should be enough units here from Probua to push this back. Cannons are up over at this base, so he should be fine. We'll get that third base up. Genji definitely had an opportunity here. Actually, with reinforcing Hydras, though, could still be an opportunity. But that DT is going to be a little bit annoying. He should have Overlord speed at this point, though, and be able to bring him up. Will he rally his Hydras across? Not doing the best job with that. Has taken the opportunity to sneak out a few more drones. Has a drone in position to take that 4th base. Not opting for it quite yet. Looks like we have enough gateways here from Probua, who is macroing quite nicely. Going for that 2nd attack upgrade. A little bit slow on that. Not terrible, but a little bit slow. And definitely needs to grab that 3rd gas. And now here comes the DT slipping out directly to the bottom of the map. Great place to send it. Good foresight from Genji, or from Probua to, or from Genji to already have the Overlord over there. Now he didn't send any units with that, but just the Overlord's presence will be nice. And of course, with an Overlord and a Sunken here, the DT will not be able to cause any real problems over at the 3rd base either. And in comes the DT. Sunken's going to get hit off or 2. And going behind the minerals is probably the worst possible place he could go, although somehow the Sunken can't hit there. And he's trying to find a money spot. Actually, the Sunken can probably hit. The Overlord's probably just not in the right position to see it. Like, the Overlord needs to move just a smidge over. There we go. Now the Sunken should start to finish off the DT, and that will be the end of Mr. DT. So that part dealt with. Couple more High Templar coming out here for Genji, who is still having some problems with his wall and his rallies. It looks like this Corsair is also in danger of dying. I would really love to see Genji make Mutalisks. With the 0 Corsair count, the Mutas would just be ridiculous right now. I could go back around here, pick stuff off the cannons. Okay, 3rd base is pretty cannoned up, but he could fly into the main. He could definitely pick off endless probes at the natural. They'd be a very strong investment right now. And having not rebuilt those stairs, there wouldn't really be a good answer here from Probua. But instead, Genji's just opted to go for his Lurker tech. He's made a big army, and it looks like he's thinking about attacking now. He doesn't have a very big flank set up, which would make it hard to be effective against this army, especially if he clusters his Lurkers. It's key when you're using Lurkers, you need to burrow them and separate them all up a little bit. If you just burrow them in one big patch, you know, a good Protoss storm or 2 will just decimate all 6, 9, 12 of your Lurkers, and you will go home crying. And now Probua is going to move across the map. We can see, of course, because of how well Genji's droned and how not that well Probua has probed, we can see the army sizes are pretty similar, and this is not the best engagement for either player. Leading with the Zealots is always a concern here for Probua. However, the Lurkers were burrowed pretty cluster, and the Zealots were able to get on them immediately, so they didn't go as bad as you'd expect for Protoss. And now it's just a question of how many more storms are there. 1 Templar being sniped, and it looks like he's going to take the time to try to snipe the other Templar. And there we go. Will this one get picked off? Oh no, it's going to live. So the army of Probua definitely does beat the army of Genji, but let's face it, the army has been reduced in size by quite a bit. Genji has macroed okay during that, has added a couple drones, but this army is just really small. Genji can absolutely just go and defend and be fine, and honestly, he probably is close to having enough that he could continue to be aggressive and actually just drive Protoss back away from this position. Thinks about it, not quite ready to run in there yet. Looks like he's trying to set up a bit of a flank, which would be really nice. And now I think Probua is realizing, oh man, I've stayed here a little too long with my army. I need to get away from here. Looks like Probua has managed to get a shuttle out. Hasn't done anything with it quite yet. Sending an obs down here. He's going to discover, much to his disappointment, to see that there's a base here from Genji. And that is going to immediately spark an army movement from him down towards that position. But let's face it, Genji also has an army coming across. Now they might miss each other. However, there are some lurkers morphing, and if these lurkers morph and these sunkens finish, that will buy just enough time for Genji to save his base. If they're too slow, there's a good chance Probua can just walk in there and kill this before. But now, okay, so lurkers do finish, and that's going to be really good for him. Again, Probua having a little bit of an eager engagement, running the Zealots straight in there. Lurkers tend to shred Zealots, and that leaves only a few Dragoons left. And the High Templar, although they both have some Storms, are somewhat out of position. So the Storms are really, really good right now from Probua, but the Lurkers are trying to burrow in position. I don't think there are any more Storms left, so that will be the end for these Dragoons and Zealots. The base is defended, so it will remain 4 bases to 3 for Genji, who again is still right up there in drone count. So the situation is getting a little bit rough for Probua, who has not macroed up that well of an army. He's been really on top of his macro until that battle, and now all of a sudden slipping really hard. Looks like he's going through a cycle on his gateway, but missing quite a few gateways here, and this is not the time you want to be messing up your macro rounds. That loses that last Corsair, and Genji just continue to produce army. Probua still ahead in supply, but Genji's securing up that 4th base, starting to get into that strong Zerg position, especially as he continues to upgrade. He's got that carapace done. We can see he's got 2-2 against 2-0 from Protoss, so now his Lings are on excellent parity with the Zealots. They will die in 3 shots. He's almost got Adrenal done, and this is getting into that part of the game where it gets really hard to play as Protoss, especially if you don't already have control of your side of the map with a bunch of Reavers, because once those Cracklings come into play. But look at this Templar. Alright, not able to get to the drones, but he does put down a nice storm on the Hydra. I guess if you're Templar's doomed to die, getting one last storm off, killing 5, 6, 7 Hydra is great. Going at this Archon, but looks like not quite enough Zerglings to really threaten that. How close is Probua to his 3rd? Oh, he's actually going for armor instead of attack. If he doesn't have another Forge, I don't really like that, because the attack upgrades are just so important in PvC. So that's going to hurt Probua a little bit. Always better to get your 3-0 attack and then worry about armor. Only upgrading armor if you have a 2nd Forge or have maxed out your attack. And we could have a little fight here. Looks like he was going to have a chance to pick off the Templar, but now he's just been clustered here into the corner. These Hydra are going to get ripped to pieces. Probably intended them to be a little assault on 3rd base. He is getting Reavers, which is very nice to see. But he is not getting a 4th base, which he is definitely going to need soon. Genji continues to grow that economy. Probua does not. So Probua has fallen into a really rough economic position at this point. Genji is very well defended, and just starting to produce out a whole lot of units. He actually hasn't started his attack upgrade. Well, he has just now. He's getting the Defiler Den out, getting Consume, and I don't think Protoss can run here. Again, this is not how you want to engage as Protoss. Watch what's going to happen to these poor Zealots. This is just going to be a shredding of Zealots. Now, the lack of SimCity is allowing this to go slightly better for Probua than you'd like. A surprising number of those Zealots do live, but they're still very softened up and weakened, and that leaves only this army. Now the Lings are going to start flooding in here from behind. Let's see if he can break. Remember, these Zealots are very softened up. Some pretty good storms are going on. Now here come the Lurkers being pulled across. Genji has unfortunately been caught a bit by the seat of his pants, which shouldn't really have happened, and he's able to get a good surround on those Lurkers. Can those last Templar fall? No. And actually, all of a sudden, Genji is in a really tricky spot. He was about to solidify control of the game, but he gets caught napping, and now 2 of his bases are about to go down, and looks like Probua should split off a few Zealots here and kill this and then just move out. Does need to secure a 3rd base of his own, But having reduced Genji to 3 bases, that's definitely a lot better for him, and he's also going to come in here at the same time for a little bit of harass. Let's see, he's going to fly all the way past this. Oh, he's only got Zealots, so he's got to go to the main. No Templar in this. Not killing this base, a big mistake though. It might come back to haunt Probua. He's going to force a run immediately. Now getting the pool is really nice because, let's face it, if you can get stop the Zerg's production of cracklings, that's always beneficial. Crackling's really obnoxious, really strong, but he needs to send back more than just a couple Hydra. He was trying to micro them as well as he could. A few Lings getting in here for a bit of a fight, but he's got to finish picking all of them off. There we go. He's down to just those 2 Zealots. Not going to be able to get the pool, which is a good save here from Genji. His Cracklings are just such a wonderful, strong unit. But now Genji needs to hurry up and get some units back over to this side so he can defend. Looks like he's running just another small group of Lings. If he gets some Templar out of these, it'd be great, but unfortunately he's not getting them, and unfortunately Probua has a way bigger army. I'm honestly pretty surprised by this, given the economy that Genji has had. Now, I think he lost quite a few drones in that fight, and he's fallen into a little bit more of an even economic position. Probua now securing his 4th, but I'm a little surprised to see just how low of supply Genji is. I mean, he has had bad engagements, and that hasn't helped him, but he should have a little more supply. Now adding a ton of drones, so Genji getting back up to that rip-roaring economy, and we'll just have to see if that 4th base, or 5th base, or whatever you want to call it, of Genji's, that Probua left up, comes back to haunt him. Because if it does, he's going to really, really be sad that he let this base live. And of course now with a Nidus Canal over here, that makes it quite a bit easier for Genji to defend this base. And with Zerg in the mid to late game, if you are even a little bit out of position, and you let Zerg lurker a base up with 6 or 7 lurkers, they can just take the base just like that, and you can have a huge army. And if they've got a Nidus Canal and some lurkers set up, it's really hard to break. And it looks like we're going to have a fake, mostly, no, it's like half fake, but unfortunately for Genji, a lot of Probua's army is weirdly rallied into the natural, so this drop is actually not going to do much at all. I mean, like, it's a nice lurker drop to clear some probes, but spending 4 or 5 lurkers on it is not worth it. And again, Probua, this is really bad engaging from Probua, but I guess he's just had such a superior army, and Genji hasn't had good SimCity, that these Zealots have been able to fight the lurkers decently effectively like this. But let's face it, Probua has heavily overreacted to this and has sent all of his army back for a 4 lurker drop, which I guess in fairness, when you see 6 or 7 overlords coming in, it's easy to do, but he left nothing over here. He doesn't have the shuttle to bring these Reavers over here to defend right now, so he just lost his 4th base. And of course Genji has his 4th base established. Probua might not know about that, given by the fact that he didn't kill it. And little moves like this might very well be swinging the game into Genji's favor, because let's face it, Probua now mining off of, well, about to be 1 base, and that other base here running quite low, because, you know, everything is dead here, nothing mining here. And there are still a few minerals left, although, whoa, Genji just lost a shit ton of drones to these storm drops. I missed that one coming in as I was watching this base die, but it obviously did quite a bit of damage, and I realize there's not a ton of minerals left here, but just shortly ago, Genji was at 55 drones, and we did see a 12-kill Templar dying there, but there was certainly another Templar with quite a few kills dying here at the natural, and now we're going to have an engagement in the middle of the map, but it's no real tech units in here, and that is a lot of beefy Zealots, so I don't really think Genji should push the issue here, maybe assassinate a Templar if he can, but other than that, should just run back to his lurker fields and defend. We can see doing a really nice job re-droning, and now Probua is going to retake that expansion. This is where Genji should be doing a better job trying to run those Zerglings around, but he's got to respond to this. Again, he just doesn't have Overlord vision, so look at all this time that Probua is able to position and just walk into this base, whereas if Genji would have known, he could have had all his lurkers going through the Nidus, he could already have a nice wide spread at the ramp, but oh, Probua doesn't go down there. Oh, now he's going to see it. Corsair is going to fly over, and Probua is going to be like, oh shit, I didn't know that was there, but it still might work out. Alright, this is going to let Genji know. Now, where's his Nidus Canal? Does he not have one? Oh, no, he's got one, but it's in a weird spot. He needs to take all his lurkers. He needs to get over here. If he defends this base, he is in a wonderful position. Should morph these Hydras into, like, lurker eggs or do something with them right now. But he's not going to do that. So now the question is, can he stop Protoss? He's going to counter at this base, which is good as long as his Lings don't be too stupid. He will shut this base down. They're actually being remarkably stupid, though. This is really good for Probua that his Lings decided to get that retarded. Now he's trying to get through. He's got a Defiler. Can he spread out the Lurkers? That's going to be important to do against the Storms. Right now they're not very spread. He's going to need to get down a few more of those Dark Swarms. It's going to make him almost invulnerable to the Dragoons, but he's not broing the Lurkers, which is a big deal, and the hatcheries are vulnerable. He doesn't get a swarm down. Tons of storms coming off. Where are the Lings? The macro is not quite here. There are not more units coming through that Nidus Canal. He needs that to stay up to defend the base. The army has definitely been reduced in size, though, but this is a very tenuous moment for Genji. I don't know how many storms are left on these Templar. Definitely quite a few, so he just needs to keep units flooding through that Nidus Canal, bleed those storms out, reduce it to just Dragoons, keep the swarm down, and he should be able to hold this off, but there's a nice Zealot reinforcement coming. Where's the OBS, though? If there's not an OBS, this is good. Is he going to try to target down the Nidus Canal? It would certainly not be a bad decision. Genji is trying to get Lings through, but it goes down. Now he's got to send them by hand, which is going to make it a lot harder to defend. And now cannon spam over. This base is proving to be strong, and Probua, again, swinging the game into his favor, so much so that Genji is actually forced to GG. Oh, man. I don't know what to say about that game. That game was really back and forth. I feel like it was one of those games where, honestly, both players just made really big mistakes over and over that let them back into the game. I mean, overall, it's not like they played poorly. I mean, overall, it needed a few more probes, but overall, you know, they macroed, they made reasonable decisions, they had a good build, but there were some really critical things in terms of army vision, in terms of placement, defending bases, overreactions that were, you know, really big overreactions. And it was like one of these games where, you know, a lot of times you overreact to something and nothing happens, you know. You see 5 overlords flying in. Well, yeah, Zerg's during a doom drop, you overreact and send your whole army back, and, you know, that's where Zerg's spending all his APM, and it turns out just fine. But in the case of this game, it was like every time a player made a big mistake, they were punished for it really heavily. And unfortunately, in the end, that turned out to be Genji that was punished the most for it. I mean, really, I felt like for most of that game, Genji was in a fantastic position, probably should have won that game, but a few inefficient early trades and then just the lack of map awareness against Probua really cost Genji the chance to get the win there. But it was a good game. Very, very back and forth game. And now we will go into the final set, which is the deciding set, and spawning in the top right-hand... Oh, wait, I just reloaded the same game. Whoops. I was like, this map seems familiar. Actually, which game do we need? I thought I did all of them, but maybe not. Okay. The deciding game is going to be on Circuit Breaker. I believe it is between Snowfruit and Valor, perhaps? I guess we'll just have to wait and see. Spawning in the bottom left-hand corner as the White Zerg, we have Valor. And in the bottom right-hand corner as the Race Picker TVZ, we have Snowfruit. Snowfruit, Probua is on Team Stardom and the Plebs, so it is tied 2-2. This is the deciding game. The winner of this game, their team, will be advancing to the playoffs, and this would definitely be a big win for Stardom's team because they were plagued with 2 walkovers, both Sequence and I don't even know if they could get a 5th player. Phasers was scheduled in the playoff lineup against Hafnium, so it looks like they only could manage to field 4, and of those 4, one of their players didn't show, Sequence. So if their remaining 3 players, Valor, Stardom, and Probua, could take the win, they would basically come back from starting down 3-0, which would be a very impressive win from Stardom and the Plebs. The downside here is that it's Snowfruit against Valor, and Snowfruit has been one of the more solid Zergs in the league, and he's also up there for one of the more improved Zerg players in the league. And when you put those 2 combinations together, well, it's a little bit dangerous. And it's also TVZ, which I don't know Snowfruit, and the fact that Snowfruit is more of a Zerg, obviously, than a Terran, since he only plays TVZ and then plays Zerg in the other 2 matchups, his Terran probably lags behind his Zerg overall, but this does tend to be an easier matchup from Terran for Terrans, so I don't know how Snowfruit feels about it. There's a good chance he's quite strong in this matchup, and if I recall, Valor is more of like a kind of a D+ Zerg. I could be recalling wrong, but my inclination, given Snowfruit's play, is to say that Snowfruit is probably the more favored player in this matchup. And we can see that Valor's doing, right off the bat, a pretty interesting build. It certainly looks to be like 9-pool speed, perhaps, which is dangerous for sure. Will he morph? Yeah, it's going to be 9-pool. Well, I'm assuming 9-pool speed. We're getting the Lings started. He should take guys off gas, which he is doing. He's going to take all 3 off. Yes, so it is going to be 9-pool speed. Now, that is definitely going to be dangerous for Snowfruit. It's going to need, I don't think you actually have to bunker, but it definitely requires some quality ramp blocking and defense, and if he doesn't do any of those things right, or if he makes a mistake on one of those things, the situation would get bad for Snowfruit really quick. Now, he's probably wishing this was on, Valor's probably wishing this was on Jade, because looks like this drone should die. He turns it away. He's going to get a little more scouting information. Whoa, okay, never mind. At first I was thinking, what kind of overreaction to the drone, but then I remember this is 9-pool speed, so obviously a lot of SCV is going to go straight to the ramp. Lots of Zerglings out, going to leave 1 to chase, going to wait on that. Speed is on the way. Now the ramp is pretty solidly, pretty secured here for Snowfruit. And the other tricky part about this, if you can do it right, what you want to do is have your screen hotkeys, and the second, like, your first SCV is about to die, you press back to your CC and send it back to mine. And if you do that, then you can basically defend this without losing any SCVs, and you're in a very, very nice spot. So, like, if you were doing that, right, you'd be fighting, this guy's about to die, bam, click the mineral, this one's about to die, bam, click the mineral. You can kind of send them back like that, but of course you can't lose too many. Now, it starts off very well here for Snowfruit. And the other thing is, remember, these Marines don't have range, so if they're not positioned right, like, this Marine is not going to help out against these front SCVs. And now, I don't know if Valor's going to be that aggressive trying to go up the ramp, but there's some dangerous opportunities like that if your Marines aren't positioned well at the ramp. So a bunch of Marines now out. Is making the expansion, has put a drone back on gas. We'll be going for that lair here soon. And we'll probably see one more attempt here to bust the ramp, or possibly he's going to wait for him to come down the ramp and hope that he makes some sort of mistake coming down the ramp. But no, it looks like he is going to, well, he's not going to go for it. I mean, you know, 6 Marines up the ramp is becoming a little too much to break, especially with a little bit of an SCV wall in front. And the only other question for Snowfruit is, will he try to bunker on the lower part of the ramp before he floats the CC down to be extra safe? I don't know why Valor's running in here now. It's one thing to poke up the ramp and see what he has, but he should not be trying to kill SCVs. With 6 or 7 Marines at the top of the ramp, equal number of Lings. There's just no way Lings are ever going to break that at this point. But he is going for a lair, a very fast lair, I might add. So there will be some danger from Hydralisks or Mutalisks here at some point. But aside from that, Snowfruit is certainly in a hugely economically favorable position. And I do like the choice to go Lurker. 2-hatch Muta, it's good, it's cool, but you've got to be solid with your micro to make it work. And let's face it, most players at D and C level are not that solid at their micro. Whereas Lurkers are a lot easier to use, and if they're not well anticipated, it's just very easy to bust with them and do a ton of damage. So the big concern now for Snowfruit, you know, like I said, he's incredibly ahead economically, is going to be identification and defense of this 2-hatch Lurker, which basically tends to boil down to 2 bunkers in the front. He is going to go ahead and start coming down now. His command center close to being done. The Marine positioning looks pretty good. There's no way here that Valor can threaten this. He's doing a nice job running these Zerglings around. He does have the Lurkers on the way, and of course he's prevented scouting, so Snowfruit doesn't know what build he's against. He is going for his eBay and his Academy, which is pretty normal stuff. We'll see. In a normal situation, Terran wouldn't necessarily rush to their scanners super fast, but given how in the dark he's played, I think we're going to see Snowfruit opt to add those scanners pretty quickly. Otherwise, he's going to have to make a lot of blind guesses. Well, so far not. He's going immediately for Stim. But where will his tech be? He's going to add more barracks. Let's remember, Lurkers are on their way. Still definitely has enough to deny it. There are a lot of Marines out, though. And there's not a bunker at the front. So there might be an interesting moment if Snowfruit opts to pressure with Lurkers. Or if Snowfruit opts to pressure with his Marines. It could be annoying for Valor. Otherwise, Snowfruit is going to have to deal with Lurkers at his front. Now, he does have a bunker up now, which is important. And he is getting those scanners, but he's adding already a turret to his main, which is kind of I think this guy is going to go Muta, so I'm just going to make some turrets. Yeah, he's just assuming it's Muta right now, and this is a very dangerous assumption. Valor is already making these Hydralisks, And let's face it, this is scary for Snowfruit. This is a really incorrect read, and he's been forced to make a blind read. He has not yet scanned. So now he's going to scan and right down on the hydrant end, and this is going to change his reaction quite a bit. And he's going to need a second bunker at the front. He needs to think about his turrets, and he needs to be a little bit further out on the map. If he just lets the lurkers walk up without any defense, he'll be in a terrible spot. The only thing he has to be a little bit worried about, he can't just come crazy far out on the map because there's, that's got to be careful, those lings will be valuable later. If he comes too far out across the map too fast, now I like this movement. The reason he's moving down here is he scanned his lurker, and it's popular to morph the lurkers close to the third base, and one of the most logical spots, of course, is right by that base. And oh, the lings think about coming in, but there's not enough to surround this group. And this is why it's dangerous to be too far out in front. This is not a big group. If Valor had played and made a few more lings in addition to just 2 or 3 lurkers, he could easily have surrounded this group of Marines. Like, this is too far out from Snowfruit, who, well, it's fine. He's got a bunker with some fire bats. And now he's in the perfect position. He gets the move in. He tries to run past, and now the situation is just kind of weird. But he's got a large group of Marines running past. A lurker morphing here. Just 2 lurkers left. It looks like Snowfruit has disrupted this enough, and of course this is pretty close to having detection. He's adding a second bunker now. I'm starting to think he may have disrupted this enough to be okay, and of course all of these Marines, well, potentially are going to be running into the natural here now. With 1 lurker finishing, that's going to be really helpful, and now we have him going for the bust. Oh, maybe they can't see where the detection is a big question here, but it doesn't look like he can get through the bunker, and it doesn't look like he can get the front turret either. The bunker is not going to fall. Detection is there, so this is largely held off, and again, right after that Snowfruit's group moving forward. He doesn't really have enough gas to morph more lurkers, but his attack has been completely stymied at this point. There's no chance of it doing any more damage at this point, and now it is a huge economic advantage for Snowfruit. He's running in here. It looks like he's going to kill the natural. It does depend on if he has scans, but it's very unlikely that Valor's even going to try to come down the ramp. He's basically going to have to sack his natural. He's going to be on 1 base against Snowfruit, who is now completely defended. He tried to bust once more, but like I said, we knew that wasn't going to do anything and was unable to make it work. His tech is on the way. Here come the lurkers down now, trying to save it. 1 is immediately assassinated. Is there a scan? Yes, there is a scan. That lurker should be target fired easily. Snowfruit, looking fine, is going to finish off the natural hatchery. Now, yes, the third base is up. The lurker burrows here. He's going to force these few Marines back, but this little sneak out has obviously done tremendous work for Snowfruit. And I mean, yeah, it's a good thing that this base is up, but it will only live as long as Snowfruit basically takes to scan it. And I think it's one of those bases that even if Snowfruit were to never realize it was there the entire game, it still isn't likely to change the outcome that much. Because, I mean, Snowfruit is already tanking up. He's making vultures. He's on his way to his tech, and Zerg has no hive in sight, which doesn't really give you an answer to the Marine tank vessel thing. Now this base is found. The Marine obviously seeing the creep, and there's just a few Zerglings that can come across the map. Obviously, he can just defend with these few lurkers, but all he can do is sit here and defend at this point, and it should just be him defending until Snowfruit comes across with a few tanks and maybe a vessel, and then what's he going to do? You know, his economy is way too weak to produce a large enough army. You know, maybe he could get some sort of lucky flank, get Snowfruit just into a horrible position where 2 or 3 lurkers could trash the army. But even then, even if he trashes 1 entire army of Snowfruit, I still don't know if that really buys him enough time. So Snowfruit is taking a small army, and again moving down at this bottom base, and it looks like there's going to be, he's threatening a counter, and I do like a lot of Valor's little army movements. I mean, he is threatening things, he is kind of scaring Snowfruit, who didn't have a whole lot of defense. He is forced to bunker up, but he just doesn't have enough units to be super threatening. Does pick off a few stray Marines here from Snowfruit, who has now walked over to this top base, and of course there is no defense for the top base. No lurkers there, so these back Marines should pick this. Oh, well, actually, this is a bit of a mistake, a little bit of a control mistake here. These lings are going to be allowed to be more effective against this than he wants, and actually, the medic. Oh, but he retreats. Oh, he's so close to having the medic, but it looks like the Marines have made it in here. Again, the control from this attack is not good by Snowfruit, but it looks like it might be enough to do the job. It's certainly going to kill off the drones. He's trying to snipe the lurkers down. He doesn't quite have enough to snipe the hatch. The medic is finally dead now, so these guys pretty much get the little life they have left on them from this stim. He's going to pick off a few of these Zerglings. He's not going to get the hatch for now, but he's going to kill most of the Zerglings. He could actually maybe get a lurker, microing the living daylights out of this. He is keeping his money down, though. should have that decent army back at home. He's actually got a tank sieged up. He's playing incredibly defensively. But Valor, I mean, Valor's still on 16 drones. Snowfruit is on 60 SCVs. The supply is almost triple, and that's just that's not where you want to be. Not where you want to be. And now I think Snowfruit is finally going to move across. I mean, you know, the one thing you got to admit that it did is this Valor's nice aggressive army movements and potential threatening backstabs and other things. It kept Snowfruit from moving out with a big army like this for a long time. When Snowfruit was just attacking it this third, he left a lot of units back at home that he could have brought. But he was really scared of a potential backstab, so he didn't do that. We can see Valor has just now added a few drones. He is going for his hive, but it's quite a long ways away from consume. And the vessel's on the way if it's not already. There are 3 tanks in this army. What's the status of the scans? It's full here. It's full here. So actually Snowfruit has been almost comically not using his scans, but it has allowed him to save up 8 scans, so he definitely has enough scans to be out on the map for a little while. More than enough to be out on the map in time for this vessel. You can see Snowfruit is actually diverting a little bit of his army here to go defend the 4th base he's taking. I would like to see a few more mines, but the 3rd base from Valor is now going to go ahead and fall. Tanks are coming into position. He'll probably just send them to the front of the army to start shooting away at these lurkers. Or he's just going to go ahead and siege up. There we go. Scan goes down. Now, I'd probably run in here as soon as Valor runs away. Oh, he runs forward. This is nuts. I don't know why he did that. Oh, he runs out of scan, but he does get another one down. Siege tanks, actually, that was interesting. The lurkers did that. The siege tanks did that. But, of course, now he's down into the 3rd base. So that is sayonara to the 3rd base, leaving Valor quite a ways away from a defiler den to defend his natural. Is there any chance of him getting a lurker out and defending his natural? I think there's the slightest of chances, but I don't think it's going to make too much of a difference. I mean, he's got the 2 factories already. He can switch into vultures if he wants. He's actually still making tanks, which is a little bit interesting. At this point, it's always nice to start getting mines out on the map, reducing the backstab potential and preparing for counter-swarm measures. Valor making quite a few lurkers. I'd like to see a few more of them up the ramp to make it a little bit harder for Snowfruit to get across, but I don't really think it's going to change much. But at this point, Valor really needs to buy anytime he can, and grouping his lurkers up like this, I mean, is not the way to buy time. Well, he's actually going to run into this. Let's see how quickly Snowfruit can spread. Oh man, that target firing was really good. Like, the Marines were incredibly clumped, but the lurker incredibly clumped, but the lurkers were perfectly target fired, and all Valor can do is say GG. Honestly, given the position he was in, yeah, it was a really tough position. 2 base with almost no drones against the Terran that's just rolling away on 3 bases. You're probably not going to win that, but Valor, with his defiler incoming, he needed to buy time. He really shouldn't have played that aggressively unless he had lings or something to flank and trap those Marines in there. So I think that was kind of the final nail in the coffin, and I have to give Snowfruit credit. Like, I thought, you know, he did a good job handling the backstabs, and then he was able to be really efficient with his small groups of Marines. Usually that's a bit risky to send those groups out, but he got the right reads, and he was able to get those Marines into excellent positions. I mean, he killed the natural, he shut down the 3rd, he displayed a solid game. His blind read, you know, didn't work out, and he responded really nicely once he saw the lurker den, and he secured things for Team Assimilate, who will be going on to face Magical Ponies. And the winner of that, of course, will be advancing to the Grand Finals. So thanks to everybody for watching, and I will see you all next time. And to be honest, I don't know when next time will be. I think with just one series, I think Jealous is going to be casting what remains of the finals, so the semifinals and the grand finals, but I'm sure there will be more leagues coming, so just keep your eyes peeled, and yeah, see you guys next time. Thanks for watching.